Hello and welcome to Truckers World for another video. I hope you're doing okay out there, not too bad myself. It's Saturday morning, I am working for the trusted courier firm and it is my third day of working this week. I've only got 3 days. First of all, I just want to apologise again for this camera. I'll have to invest in a new phone. It's a lens, whenever there's any kind of light in it, it looks absolutely dreadful, so I do apologise. I'll come a bit closer, but not too close. Yeah, you don't want to be scared off by my face. Right, so today's video will be about dray driving, and for those who may be a bit unfamiliar with the term, basically delivering kegs of beer, basically delivering to pubs, restaurants and social clubs as well. So I did a bit of agency work as a driver, and well, actually it was a driver's mate, funny enough. So I was a driver's mate, however the driver, you're doing a lot of what the driver does anyway. I saw what he was doing, and I can safely say I can give a pretty decent review of a Class 2 dray driver, and that's what I'm going to do today. Give you a bit of insight, okay? So dray driver jobs I've seen before, and I've actually applied for one. It was a good year ago now, and it was, you know, decent wages, 34 grand a year at least, you know, maybe 32, but you're looking at 34, I would say, from what I've seen. So it's pretty decent money, but you certainly earn that money, without a doubt. Handball, if you're thinking of obviously handballing jobs, you know, you're thinking of catering, you know, sometimes carpets, wooden floors, that kind of thing, you know. I think B&Q, like furniture, those kind of firms as well, they do a lot of handballing. This is definitely up there, without a doubt. With a big handball jobs, this is up there, no shadow. So, start at 7 o'clock, that's where I was. Obviously you check in, half your wagon is loaded, so you know, some of it's loaded from the day before, and the driver told me that sometimes they do that, other times forklift truck drivers do that throughout the day, okay? And you're delivering obviously kegs of beer, big metal kegs of beer, different sizes, and also as well you're delivering obviously boxes of beer, you know, bottles of wine, bottles of water, that kind of thing, you know, all the stuff that public houses sell, and they're just stacked on pallets. So in the morning you will have to load up a little bit, okay? So my driver and me, we loaded up a couple of barrels, and I would say that, you know, you don't load up the whole lot, but you do load up a proportion. You know, a small portion you do load up, basically to top up, I would imagine. And when you see the wagons, they are loaded up. They are. You think, oh my God, we've got to unload all this stuff. There's kegs stacked upon kegs, pallets of bottles. Oh my God, it was a little bit daunting, I must say. And when you load it up, usually you do it yourself. Obviously, you've got those like steel ramps, and they're rolling the kegs along them, rolling them up. You know, that's how they're doing it, but it's still quite difficult. They're quite heavy. Wagon you're driving is standard Class 2. Some of them are a bit extended, which you've seen. Pretty decent wagon. It was a man wagon. Driven one of them before. They're quite nice. We had about 12 drops, give or take, maybe 13. Most of them were fairly local. Went a little bit further afield, but not too far. But I do know that he can be sent. You know, he can be sent to Wales. But I think that's the furthest he goes around that area, you know. But mostly it's fairly local for those. And standard days were probably about 8-hour days, he was telling me. Maybe 8-9 hour days. You can imagine, obviously, you don't want to do any more than that, really. So off he goes, you know. And when you get to these pubs, obviously, he knew the route. Okay? So, obviously, when you go to these jobs as an agency driver, I don't think they're going to put you straight into a driving job there, you know, unless you've got a driver's mate who can tell you exactly where to drive up to and where to park. You know, you're not going to know, because obviously when you go into these drops, you see the pub, but you have to line your wagon up to where the cellar doors are, because obviously you're going to be rolling down there. So, you know, there's times, obviously, it's not awkward. Most of it was okay, actually. You're either outside, main road, not too bad, or you're parking in a little bit of a car park. You know, usually you can turn around. If you can't, like I say, driver's mate, whoever will back you out. It's not much of an issue, but like I said, if you're an agency driver, I wouldn't worry too much. You'd have to have training or someone on there to tell you where you're going to go. There's no way they'll expect you to give you a round and say, right, off you go, you know, without somebody knowing where exactly to park. So, bits of training involved with that one. So when you get there, obviously you've got your check sheet. It's up to you to obviously check your check sheet. If you've done a round, or you're fairly confident on a round, you will know that anyway. My driver worked there for about 16 years, so he knew what he was doing. And obviously you make sure you get everything off, and basically start off by pushing the kegs off. You've got like a big cushion. They'll push the kegs off the side of the wagon, One person will be down on the ground, which I was. He was pushing them off. You'll make sure obviously they're safe, putting them where they need to be, standing up, and that's fine. You get your bottles ready, etc. Then, first of all, you'll go down to the cellar, or the driver goes down the cellar, and he pushes up or throws up the empties. They're fairly heavy, some of them, not too bad, and there'll be about 6 or 7 big kegs of empties there. You put them to the side, and then you'll start rolling them down. Obviously, usually you get a straight ramp and you roll them down. Not too difficult, but if you're doing about 5 or 6 of them, you know, you start to sweat a little bit, I'll be honest. You know, you're pushing them down, you can't just kick them down because the driver's down there. You've got to be very safety conscious, so you have to hold them with your back a little bit and then just let them go. Okay, once you've done that, then you'll start to proceed with loading up with the bottles. So that will usually go through the front door. However, sometimes you'll slide them down into the cellar, okay? So when you slide them down, they don't break, the driver's there waiting, you slide them down. Again, bit of a handball, and it can be, you know, certain drops, if they've got a lot, it can be quite hard work. With the kegs as well, I didn't know this, good point worth knowing. I thought that you simply roll them down and the landlady simply puts them in. It's their job to line them up. It's not. It's actually the dray's job to do that. Okay? So a dray driver or whoever's down there will have to then get those barrels, push them down or reel them down, and then line them up with each individual barrel of that nature. So for example, bitter, lager, different brands will be in a line. You have to line them up. And that also goes for certain ones where they're not on the tap. Okay, you don't have to attach them to the tap, but some of them you have to lift up. You have to put them on the side, lift them up, and put them on like 2 wooden slats. But it's your job to do that. Simple as that. So once you've done that and you've got them all loaded in, then you'll come back out and we'll load up the empties. He must know what he's doing, because obviously loads them up in a certain area, and you can imagine you don't want to get confused with the empties compared to the full ones. Okay, that's why they won't send you out without proper training. You just can't do it. I don't think you can do this job without proper training, definitely. And likewise, when you go into drops, you have to know which side the kegs are on. Okay, not always easy, that. So that's what they'll do, and that's what happens. So you load up, away you go. That's all grand, and you go to your next drop. Okay, now they vary with the drops. So when you open up the cellar doors, some will be quite steep, some will be quite level, you know, and it's not too bad. But like I said before, sometimes you have to like position your back in a certain way and then drop it slowly. But it's not easy. It's not easy. On one of the drops that we had, I would say it was about 10, maybe 15 foot drop, straight drop, wasn't even any ramps. And what we had to do is before I started dropping the kegs onto the big cushion, I had to pull up the empties, 2 at a go with chains. I was pulling them up like this with the chains. It's crazy stuff, crazy. You can imagine what it was like back in the old days. So I did that, and then I had to drop about a good 6-7 barrels, very heavy, literally vertical drop, you know, make sure it's safe. But yeah, it was hard work, very hard work. One of the pubs that we went to, there was a big delivery, and he said that was quite small for them. Lots of bottles, I would say at least 12 kegs, and I was quite tired after that. It was getting to that point where I was tired, you know, and this was only on the one day that I did, only the one day. And then, like I said, I think the first couple of jobs, you know, it wasn't too bad, but then suddenly you get into the second half of the day and you're feeling it, and you add on driving onto that as well. You know, not an easy thing. It's an all-weather job, obviously. We had a bit of rain, heavy rain. If you're unloading that rain, obviously you put your waterproof on. That's like that for many jobs anyway, but obviously with this type of job, it's not a case of curtain side, pallet off, you know, in you go. It can be quite time consuming. So yeah, be prepared for that if you do that job. And I think that's mostly it. Obviously, I've rolled off a lot there that seems quite negative. However, there are some positives. Like I said, you know, generally 8-hour day, the wages are good. Once you get used to your round, he's telling me, you know, things get a lot easier, definitely. And I think you need a good proper training on your round to know exactly where you're going to go and know the routine. and know where your kegs are in the back. Very, very important, because like I said, halfway through the day I was loading up and I was like, well, I don't know which ones are which now, but he knew exactly where to put them, etc. So he found it a bit of a doddle after a while. He's told me obviously some drivers go there and it's a love-hate job. Basically, you either last or you don't last. A lot of drivers go there and they last maybe a week and they think, sod that, you know. Some other perks is, and I think this is really good, I found this when I was delivering wood flooring and carpets, is that you have regular customers and they become your friends. You know, he was having a good laugh with them, good rapport with them, they're your clients, and most of them are really friendly and they all give you free drinks. You know, maybe I shouldn't say that, but yeah, they give you free bottles. Some bottles going a little bit out of date. You know, a lot of pubs we went to, we were coming back with a couple of bottles. Just nice of them. I think that's really nice. That really, really nice. They give you free bottles. They've got good report. They have a good talk to you. You know, that's really nice. He did tell me one thing as well, is that obviously with Drayman, obviously, and the pubs, they do expect you to, like I say, line the barrels up. Put them in position, that kind of thing. Free houses especially. Now, free houses, obviously, he's told me that if you don't do enough for them, you know, then they can easily just say to the brewery, well, look, you know, we want this doing, we want that doing, otherwise we'll go elsewhere. Okay, so it's under the driver's pressure really to do that, to make sure he does a proper job and make sure he does it all, you know, correctly. You know, that adds a bit of pressure, that, doesn't it? Overall, I think it was a good experience, very good experience for me. Was it for me? Probably not, no. Call me lazy, call me what you want, but you know, maybe after a while I would get used to it, but I think I'd be quite tired. A couple of days there, you know, that would really tire you out. And obviously you can imagine last year's temperatures in the summer, 40 degrees. You know, he told me that was extremely difficult, and I can imagine that. You imagine shifting those things in 40 degrees. Not for me, but a fantastic experience. Good money, very good money. And he told me that there still were a few old boys doing it, you know, in the 60s. Can't believe that, can you? But yeah, a couple of old boys, but I would certainly say it's a young man's job. Some good experience, good money. If you want to work out, don't want to pay for a gym, that's the job for you. So there you go. So there's my review. Class 2, Drayman driver. You'll always have a driver's mate. That can be good or a bad thing, you know, who knows. You know, I like to work on my own, but in that job you certainly need a driver's mate, without a doubt. It was a very good experience, and I'm glad I did it. But yeah, I'll leave you to decide what you guys think about that. Right, thank you for watching, and I'm going to be putting up another review very shortly about a job I've just done, so keep tuned. Thank you very much.